Hey everyone, Once Bitten here at the Battle Report. So this is Game 4, the final game of Adepticon 2016, my Beast Herds versus an Infernal Dwarfs army. So if you remember, my first game was a big win, my second game was a loss, third game was a big win. So this puts me on table 2. I'm roughly in third place right now, but I think I'm pretty far behind table 1 and table 2. So I think I'm out of the competition for best overall. I guess the best I could hope for is win either best overall or best general or something like that. So whatever. So interested to play this. I have yet to play Infernal Dwarfs in the Ninth Age, and back when I played Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition, I'd only played the equivalent army there a few times. So really looking forward to this. So if we start on the left, he's got a unit of orc slaves. Now, I have to admit, I don't have his army list. I tried to grab every once, and apparently I didn't get his. And so I'm going through the most current army book, which is 2 editions past what we were playing with this tournament. So some of the names will be different, and I'm guessing on a couple things. So in the top left, he's got a rocket battery, some orc slaves. He's got some Vanguardian Hobgoblin Wolf Riders up front. He has what I think are Citadel Guard with flintlock axes, then a volley gun, another rocket battery in back. Then he's got this unit that's just rough. They're immortals in the most current edition. They were called as something else before, but this is their elite unit. These guys are just rough. He's got his general in there too, so he's an overlord. I have no idea what his kit was, except that this guy was rock hard. Okay, this is the unit that's gonna be tough. Um, so they're typical dwarfs with toughness 4. I think these guys are strength 4. They have great weapons, so they're strength 6. They also do an automatic strength 4 hit to every model touching them. So with my guys being toughness 4, no armor, that means that they're basically cutting out half a rank every round of combat before anything else happens right off the bat. So that's unfortunate. They've got like a 4-up armor. They got a 5-up ward, possibly just against flaming. I'm not sure. I think so. And then they've got bodyguards. So I've got to kill that darn overlord, which is not an easy task, or else these guys are stubborn 9 or 10. The only thing I have going for me is he doesn't have a battle standard bearer. So therefore, without a reroll, anything could happen. But this unit, I have no idea how to deal with. I have no idea. Anyway, another unit of orc slaves behind him. He's got a Temple Magus on a Lamassu. So the guy on top is level 2 Path of the Forge, and the Lamassu is a level 1 Path of Shadow. So I thought that was interesting, very thematic for this army. Let's some more Citadel Guards with the flintlock axes, another volley gun, some more Hobgoblin Wolf Riders, and then he's got the Kadim Titan. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to deal with this thing either. The only thing well, I had a couple ideas. One, I'm thinking about trying to just hold this guy back with a threat of 3 or 4 chariots. But if we're being honest, I'm not sure 3 or 4 chariots hitting this guy does anything. His super high toughness, 4-up ward save. I think you have to reroll 6s to wound. So when you need 6s to wound and you have to re-roll them, I don't know. I don't know how to deal with this guy. My general might be able to, because you have to re-roll your ward saves, and my general's pretty high strength, and he gets to re-roll his rolls to wound. So, and he has a magic weapon, so I think you don't have to re-roll 6s to wound if using a magic weapon. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is a good. I kind of like the feel and flavor of this. You got some real cheap slave units, but then you've got these super expensive, super rock hard units. Um, yeah, it's kind of interesting to try to counter. So on the far right, I've got gargoyles way over here. I've got a razor tusk, got a raiding chariot, another raiding chariot, a couple razor tusk chariots, and of course I've got the pillager icon. That's why these guys have vanguarded up. So I don't want his guys to be able to charge me, but I'm just trying to set up all those chariots against his Titan. And it's so funny because I'm like, I don't even know if I want this. I don't know. Anyway, then I've got my main unit. If you want my list, you need to go to my Adepticon intro video. I've got 3 characters in there: a general, a battle standard bearer, and a spellcaster. Excuse me, a spellcaster, Path of Wilderness. I've got a couple beast giants, and I've got another razor tusk. This one's not vanguarding. He's just kind of on that hill because he wouldn't. Anyway, behind it I've got a Jabberwock, and then the far left another unit of gargoyles. So yeah, I think my opponent basically deployment in this in this scenario is it kind of wonky. It's the wonky deployment in the rule set. So I'm the defender. So my I get to be farther up on the outsides. My opponent gets to be farther up on the inside, something like that. But my opponent has to come to me. So if you see this little bit of terrain at the bottom part, that gateway looking thing, I'm trying to keep him away from that. He needs to get within 6 inches of it. So that's why I put my big block right where they are. So I'm thinking, hopefully they can just hold stuff up. Um, yeah. So anyway, this is turn one. Infernal Dwarfs going first. He well, he does what you can see. Doesn't come up quite as far as I thought he would, because I think his main unit, can march 15 inches. So I don't know if he's trying to keep his guys a little bit together, or he didn't want to get up within easy charge range. I can tell you, I think I would be willing to go into his main unit with my main block, with my general in there, and a couple giants, just because that's a lot of damage. But I kind of think that my giants get killed in combat. I mean, those guys are. Oh, and the unit has hatred. They're just freaking ridiculous. So I don't know if they have hatred by themselves or if the general gives it to them. But if I put my giants in there, I mean, he'll be re-rolling to hit, wounded on threes. I think he just kills my giants. Anyway, looks like that. During the magic phase, Lore of Shadow gets a magic move and moves his Citadel Guard in this building. I was thrilled with that. I like that a lot, because I'd like to now he's in a pretty easy charge range of my main unit, and if I can charge him on my turn one, I can charge him and then either get in the house or reform. I actually kind of like my position, so I let that spell through. I was pretty happy about it, actually. His Lamassu miscasted and can no longer cast spells, which not a huge deal. Yeah, this guy shoots and misfires, puts a wound on himself, and another one shoots, puts 4 wounds on a giant. If you follow my videos, giants have 6 wounds, but for some reason in my mind they only had 5. So as far as I know, this guy has 1 wound left. He's definitely no good going into that main enemy block now. So Beast Herd's turn 1. He had, if you look on the right, he had taken his fast cav and blocked up one of my chariots. Just kind of, I don't know if he was guarding himself from being charged or guarding, his Titan from failing a frenzy test. So I just go ahead and charge him with the Razor's Husk that was on the far right, and then I just move all my chariots back. The mistake I made was that I thought that it looked like I was far away, but this thing, in addition, the Titan has a really high movement, so he's actually within easy charge range of me, and what I don't need is for him to charge one of my chariots, overrun into another one, blah, blah, blah. If you look on the top right, take my gargoyles, circling around trying to get to his war machines. I charge my general's unit into the unit at the house, and I take that Razor Tusk up, trying to block his main unit. I think they can't wheel around him. So there's that. There's the charge. I love that units are no longer stubborn in buildings. So we go to combat phase. So the Razor Tusk, of course, it beats the fast cav. He kills 3 of them, or he kills some. He wins combat. They flee, I think, through the house and lose some more. But anyway, they have 2 left. You can see where they are in the top left corner. Meanwhile, they run through the slaves. Now the slaves have to take a panic test, but they're at leadership, I assume 10 with his general nearby. They fail it. No, I was not worried about that slave unit in the slightest. Not in the slightest. But it's kind of funny. So they flee, which I think is kind of cool. Then we go to the combat the building, and yeah, it's just my unit absolutely just destroys them. Then I need to reform, and so I do what you see here. Basically, my concern was I didn't want his Titan charging my Razor Tusk and then overrunning into their rear, or being able to anyway get around them. So I think I'm good there. Otherwise, everything during the magic phase, by the way, if you remember how my Razor Tusk was trying to block that unit, during the magic phase, I got a spell off, which allows me a free move, and so I moved him up to truly redirect that unit. So that unit's frenzied. Good leadership, so he doesn't have to charge that guy if he doesn't want to, but if he does charge him, he has to overrun. And if he overruns, I'm going to get a charge into the flank with my main unit. Now that's actually about as good as I can hope for. My concern is, I go in the first time, I'm going to do some wounds, no doubt about it. Probably my hope is to get his general, my general, in a challenge. I think if that happens, we both survive. The problem is, if we both survive, he's going to easily pass his stubborn break test, and then easily pass his reform. And once he reforms, I think those guys slaughter me. Um, I mean, they would do 6 wounds before we start combat, and then I'm going to strike at him. I'm strength. I'll be strength 4 to his toughness 4, but he's got a 4-up armor. I'm not going to do that many wounds, and he's going to strike back. He's wounding on 2s. I mean, just I don't know. If I get the opportunity, I'm going to do it, but I don't think it's a done deal. No matter how ideal that situation seems, I'm not confident about it. We go to Infernal Dwarves turn 2, and he does not want to charge the Razor Tusk because he's worried about the overrun and my charge into his flank. So he just kind of backs up. So I'm really intrigued by this. Slaves on the left turn around. If you look at the top left, I had an ambushing unit come on. So he turns his slaves around to deal with them. He's also planning to shoot at them. He can shoot like a big pie plate that lands on them, and if it causes even a single wound, they have to take a panic test. And that unit's only leadership 7. I'm really worried about that. Sorry about clearing the throat. It's allergy season around here. On the right-hand side, this guy charges a chariot. I flee. He charges my Razor Tusk. I flee, and now he's just sitting there. So now I actually have the option to charge him with 3 chariots. I think I will, and I think I just lose that. I think I might win combat the first round, but the best I can hope for is just hold that guy up. I don't think they're going to kill him. I don't think there's a chance of it. Go to the magic phase. This guy has a spell where it's like, boosted versions 2d6 strength 6 hits, so he just wastes a chariot. The other one, I assume, passes his panic test. If he's not there next time, it means he didn't. Let's see. Meanwhile, on my turn, my Briar Beast popped up in the woods right between his main unit and that organ gun. And then on his turn, he reformed this Tower Guard and shot, and with all those shots, killed the Briar Beast. So that's unfortunate. I had plans for that guy. And over here, he drops a pie plate on him, rolls to wound. All he needs is a single 6, and I've taken a leadership test on way too low, and he can't get a single wound on this unit. That was scary. I was really scared. I can't believe I don't know. Because I play the army that I play, I don't like things that a single wound forces a panic test. But whatever. Here on the right, he shoots at my gargoyles. He's just trying to cause panic tests, and he just can't wound my guys enough. His artillery shooting is just absolutely awful this game. I certainly, by this time of the game, I wasn't fearing it too much. So, yeah, let's see. We go to Beast Herd's turn 2. So at this point, just a lot of interesting things going on. One, you see on the left side middle, he put his fast cav in front of my giants. I think he was worried about combo charges. So that's fine. Especially I can take my giant with a bunch of wounds on him and, not worried about losing him. On the right-hand side, I give up on my chariots. Now that I only have 2 chariots, there's no way I'm taking 2 chariots in that Titan. So I just take the chariot and a Razor Tusk, and I rally the Razor Tusk, and then I take a chariot and just move him over. I leave the other chariot there just to pose some kind of threat. But in big news, I take my general out of the main unit, and I put him facing the Titan. I'm like, this is the one guy I have that might be able to deal with a thing, and if I don't, I can't have that guy come around the building and be threatening the rear of my main unit. I mean, that would just be awful. So I take my general out. I'm like, the main unit needs to be able to stand on its own. My opponent's main unit is being redirected by the Razor Test, so there's no immediate threat. We just need to see how it happens. Meanwhile, the ambushing unit charges artillery. Gargoyles fly over the top of the slaves and charge the tower guard in the rear, which I thought, or the Citadel Guard, or whoever the heck those guys are, in the rear. I'm nervous about that. I really would rather them charge the War Machine, but I was worried about failing the charge. It was a lot farther away. With this, I think what'll happen, well, he won't be steadfast because he's in the woods, but he does have really high leadership nearby. So my thinking is I'll probably win combat, he'll probably stick, and he's going to win that eventually. But it's, what else am I going to do? It's the best thing they have. Charge the slaves in the rear with the Jabberwock, really hoping they'd fail their panic test, to be honest, but they didn't. Complete the charge. I'm not worried about that. I charge these guys with one or both giants. I don't remember. Here on the right side back, my gargoyles make that charge. So at this point, I feel like I'm cleaning up a lot of stuff. This is the thing I'm worried about. This, if he charges me and kills my general, I'm sunk. This game is absolutely freaking over. Because at that point, there's just too much he can do. So after combat, yeah, the ambushing wild horns kill his war machine, and they turn to face the slaves. My Jabberwock wins combat. Slaves are steadfast and they stick, but they can't reform. So it's looking like that. In hindsight, well, it's hindsight's easy because at this point I didn't think through what could happen multiple turns down the road. But one thing for sure is the Jabberwock didn't need any help against those slaves. I think it might have been better just to do something else with my guys, anything else, because they just didn't need to go in there. Meanwhile, the gargoyles, yeah, they do all right when they charge in. They get to roll a leadership test to see if they can re-roll hits, and I think they passed it. And then there's strength 4 on the charge and their toughness 4, so they look like a wimpy little unit, but they're not bad. And they win combat. My opponent's not steadfast. He fails it. They catch him and overrun into the war machine. So now losing the Briar Beast isn't a big deal. Very, very happy with how everything on the left-hand side of the board is going. On the right-hand side, the gargoyles easily kill the war machine, and they're lined up to charge his other one. So not worried about his war machines. We go to Infernal Dwarfs turn 3. So his main unit charges a Razor Tusk. He's like, he's done. He doesn't care. So this is really interesting because now that my general's not in my unit, um, I just don't know if I want to take my guys in there. I'll charge him in the flank. I just don't want to charge him in the rear because all those automatic strength 4 hits and all those extra attacks just really scare me. And again, he's going to get hatred. He's going to get to reform. It just scares me. Um, I was hoping I could line up like a charge into this flank and maybe use my gargoyles charging into the other flank. And then I was thinking that doesn't work because again he gets automatic strength 4 hits. He just kills my gargoyles, half of them before we swing and the other half after we swing. So the double flank, so he can't reform, just isn't going to work. Meanwhile, in the bottom left, bottom right, his spellcaster on the Lamassu charges the chariot that was just sitting there. I didn't want to flee because he was so close; he just would have caught me. Yeah, that Razor Tusk is dead. And let's see, over here, he was finally able to reform against the Jabberwock. My gargoyles easily kill his war machine in the woods, and he overruns enough that my main unit can't charge anyway because they would hit those hobgoblins. My rightmost giant could charge the flank, but in my mind he only has 1 wound left. Actually, he has 2 wounds left, but either way, the problem is if he goes in there, he just dies. I mean, one, he just bring his general over and kill him outright. His general's pretty tough in combat. My second giant is in the front. Well, if he charges in, he's certainly going to get killed. So I don't know. Yeah, so his spellcaster beats the chariot. It has 1 wound remaining. He isn't able to catch it. Everything looks like that. That guy's he's not a huge threat, but he's a thorn. I mean, he can pick on one chariot at a time, and can't do a whole lot. So Beast Herd's turn 3. My main unit charges the fast cav that redirected him. His Titan, I guess, he charged something. I fled, and then he failed his redirect. That's why he didn't charge me. So my general just charges him. If you look in the top left, my ambushing unit charges the rear of the slaves. I didn't need help with them. So that is what it is. And my gargoyles on the left flew out of the woods. And what I'm doing there is I'm trying to force a frenzy test by his main unit, knowing he's very unlikely to fail it. But who knows? He might. And that if he passes that, I can just flee with those guys or something. This is my general going. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous here. I have a lot of faith in my general. He's got good stuff. But during the magic phase, by the way, I give him frenzy. So instead of 4, he has 5 attacks, re-rolling to hit, re-rolling to wound. My opponent has to re-roll ward saves. I'll have a charge and a flank. I just need to shrug off his wounds, and I've got toughness 6. I've got a 4-up regen. No, I don't. I have a 4-up regen and a 2-up ward versus flaming. So flaming negates regen, and this guy has flaming, so I don't get the 4-up regen, but I get a 2-up ward in its place, so it's even better. I have to re-roll it, but a 2-up having to re-roll is not bad. So I just need to shrug off the wounds he does and then pop him through combat res. Yeah, this is overkill. Yeah, whatever. I got it. So after combat, we kill those slaves down to only 2 guys left. They flee. My Jabberwock is frenzied, so he has to pursue. And I try to restrain with my ambushing unit, and they fail it, and they have to pursue too. So his main unit had to, it's kind of stuck there. But now he has a choice. He can reform and try to mop up where my major points are, or he can just charge over here and start really mopping up minor points, but fairly significant minor points. And oh, this is awesome! My God, the Beast Lord, he goes in there, and he's doing all these rerolls. I think I do 3 wounds to him in combat, and so the guy attacks. He gets all his attacks back on me, and he gets Thunderstomp on my guy. So there's a lot of damage coming my way, and I'm just 2 up ward saving everything. He does 0 wounds to me. I've got a charge of flank 3 wounds. I win by 5, and he pops the rest of the combat res. I had to overrun because I was frenzied, but oh, it was awesome. Oh, it was fantastic. This Beast Lord, he's given me the old feel of what the Doom Bull with my famous build about 2 years ago used to do. Just he's not quite as good as that, but he's pretty freaking awesome. Meanwhile, over here, Infernal Dwarfs turn 4. It looks like this. Yeah, that just sucks. He's gonna beat the one, and I'm hoping I can just get away and save those points. But then he's gonna overrun and hit the Jabberwock and kill that guy. So I'm bleeding points here on the left. But the good news is, I know I've got the victory because I can lose all these points and still win the game. But I don't like bleeding points. So he beats the one unit, and yeah, I run away. He pursues, and he rolls higher than I do. So that kind of sucks. Gets the charge into the Jabberwock. We go to Beast Herd. Now at this point, we're like, look, we're going to stay away with all the points possible. So we're talking to each other like, what is it you plan to do? Because his main unit is going to kill the Jabberwock, have to overrun. Then he has to take a turn to reform. They're not going to get in the fight. There's nothing left for me to kill except for the main unit or this guy who can fly around, and I'm not going to get to do him. So my thing was, look, I'm just want to get in your deployment zone so I can get some objective points. And he's like, well, I just want to cast spells at your giants and see if I can get points that way. So we skipped everything else, and I just kind of said, okay, I'm doing this movement to get the objective points, and he's just casting, then we're just doing his magic phase. So he kills a giant, I get the scenario objective points, and the game ends like that. So ended up, I got 18 points. Some of those were through these bonus objectives. So splitting the 20 points, my guess is it was a 13-7, and then I got 5 scenario objective points. It was something like that. So a real solid win for the Beast Herds. Really scary how things could have gone if my opponent's shooting was just a little bit better, if he had panicked my ambushing unit off the board. Actually, that doesn't matter because he got those points anyway, but he would have had a war machine left, and it would have taken my Jabberwock a little bit longer to kill those slaves. But yeah, I felt like a lot of things were just going right for me. The trick against his army, I felt his army had everything was easy to kill except for 2 things, and then I just needed to have a matchup against him. And so the Beast Lord getting into his Titan was good because that's the matchup I needed, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get that matchup. I didn't have a matchup for his main unit, and the only thing I could think would have been nice is if I could have sent 4 chariots into that thing, but by the time I realized that, deployment was over, and I had screwed that up. So I don't know. I thought it was a fun game. I hope my opponent enjoyed it. It was a fun tournament. I ended up right in the same position I was before this game because the people on the top table did well enough. So they took best general and best overall, and I took 3rd place overall, and I don't know, probably 3rd place best general. I'm not sure. So anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the tournament. Thank you so much for watching the video. I truly hope you enjoyed it. As you know, YouTube has a variety of functions you can use to interact with videos such as this. You can like or comment on the video. You can favorite it. You can share it. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel. And I encourage you to do any or all of those things as a way of interacting between viewer and producer. As always, I appreciate your patronage on the channel and wish you all the best.